Hi everyone, sorry about the technical glitch, we're back. So just to recap, my name's Aaron Crookshank. I'm hosting this event here this evening and this morning, depending on where you are. And I'm here speaking from Vancouver, Canada. So welcome everyone that is on our speaker panel, and welcome everyone that's joining us from the internet. So today was the last day of Social Media Week 2013, which has occurred in 10 cities around the world. We're joined tonight by representatives from each of the participating cities who will share with us some highlights of their week. And for those watching, we invite you to call our conference line if you'd like to hear a simultaneous translation of the comments made in languages other than English. There's a toll-free number for your country available on the event page. So if you need to find it, go to the event page and find the toll-free number there. And again, that's for the translations for the comments that are not in English. Now to the speakers. Hi everyone, and thank you for joining us at the end of this very busy week. I know you've had a crazy week and some of you have events that you're going to. And again, speakers, if it's not your turn to be interviewed, if you could mute your microphone, that would be fantastic. And I know it's late in Europe and Africa and very early in the day in Asia, so we really appreciate you joining us today. So first off, we'd like to start with Mr. Gregory Devin, who is speaking with us from Paris. Gregory, how are you?
Je vais bien, je vais très bien. Je suis un peu fatigué après cette semaine pleine d'événements et de surprises, mais je vais très bien.
Great. And how was Social Media Week in Paris for you, Gregory?
La Social Media Week s'est très bien passée à Paris. On a eu 62 événements, donc des ateliers, des conférences, des débats, des keynotes, des soirées, des apéros, enfin beaucoup de choses différentes. On a eu énormément de contributions en ligne autour de la Social Media Week. On a eu plus de 7500 mentions du hashtag SMW Paris. On a eu 5500 inscriptions aux différents événements. On a été 8 fois en trending topic dans Twitter en France. Donc ouais, ça s'est très bien passé. On est ravis de cette semaine. Et voilà, on espère que l'année prochaine, ce sera encore plus riche en surprises, encore plus riche en événements, et avec encore plus de participants et d'intervenants qui viendront enrichir tous ces débats. Je vous entends plus là. J'entends plus.
Sorry, I was on mute there for a sec. Gregory, what is the biggest change that social media has brought to Paris in the last year?
Je pense que les changements et les pays de France sont plus que pour les particuliers. Aujourd'hui, pour les particuliers, les médias sociaux sont au quotidien. Et ça fait depuis un moment déjà que c'est le cas. Voilà, on va tous les jours sur Facebook, on va tous les jours sur Twitter. Avant d'aller au restaurant, on regarde les commentaires des différents internautes. Donc ça, c'est quelque chose qui est déjà dans les usages au quotidien. Mais je pense que les vrais changements ces dernières années ont été vraiment pour les entreprises au niveau business, parce que les entreprises se sont rendues compte qu'ils pouvaient dans leur activité, et que finalement c'était plus aujourd'hui simplement leurs enfants ou leur famille qui étaient sur Facebook ou sur Twitter, mais c'était aussi leurs clients, et qu'il fallait aujourd'hui être capable de leur répondre, de leur apporter des réponses et de fournir un véritable service client à ces personnes-là sur les médias sociaux. Donc, je pense que le vrai changement qu'il y a eu ces quelques dernières années, c'est au niveau de ce secteur-là et également au niveau du secteur du monde politique. Je pense qu'en France, on était un petit peu politique par rapport aux États-Unis et que maintenant les politiques commencent à se rendre compte que la mobilisation aussi citoyenne peut se faire en ligne à travers des outils comme les médias sociaux et les réseaux sociaux.
Great, thank you, Gregory. So I know in North America and other parts of Europe that maybe are a little bit further ahead with the social media, as you said, we've seen some spectacular failures in companies trying to use social media. Have you seen any real early and very public stumbles by companies in Paris?
J'ai pas d'exemple précis en tête de gros échecs de communication, mais c'est vrai que les entreprises ont encore aujourd'hui du mal à réagir assez vite aux crises qu'elles ont du mal à se passer sur les médias sociaux, parce que ça va tellement vite, les réactions sont tellement instantanées que les entreprises sont pas habituées à avoir ce niveau, à avoir besoin de ce niveau de réactivité, et qu'effectivement, quand une campagne ne fonctionne pas, quand qu'il y a une grosse crise. Aujourd'hui, la communication de crise de ces corps adaptés à l'instantanéité des réseaux sociaux, et qu'il arrive très régulièrement que des entreprises se plantent tout simplement complètement dans leur réponse, soit qu'elles ne répondent pas, soit qu'elles répondent mal, parce que voilà, il faut savoir utiliser à bon escient ces réseaux-là pour pouvoir répondre.
Okay, c'est bon. What is the funniest thing that happened in Paris during Social Media Week? Was there anything that really stood out that was very humorous about the events or the activities that happened during Social Media Week in Paris?
Désolé, j'ai pas bien entendu la question.
Oui, pas de problème. During Social Media Week in Paris, was there anything really funny that happened, made you laugh?
Nous, de notre côté, on a lancé une initiative assez drôle et assez originale qu'on a intitulée la bonne action Social Media Week, la BA, comme on dit en France. Et l'idée derrière ça, c'était, comme la Social Media Week est un événement grand public et qui a une vocation d'évangélisation finalement du grand public aux réseaux sociaux et aux médias sociaux, de lancer cette initiative en essayant de former justement le grand public à ces réseaux-là. Donc par exemple, on a poussé des membres de l'advisory board à aller voir un restaurant, un restaurateur du quartier, un épicier, et de les former à ces réseaux-là, de manière à ce qu'ils puissent prendre en main ces choses-là. Et donc on a fait des petites vidéos de ces interventions-là dans lesquelles les membres de l'advisory board, donc qui connaissent parfaitement le fonctionnement de ces réseaux et leur utilisation au quotidien, ont pu aller former des restaurateurs, des propriétaires d'établissements à ces réseaux-là. Et ça donne des images et des vidéos assez intéressantes, assez drôles, et en même temps utiles pour tous.
That's great, Gregory. Thank you so much. C'est un plaisir, and thank you for your time.
Merci à vous.
Okay, next up, we are going to move on to Gerard Bush, who is actually speaking with us from New York, but is representing Miami. So, Gerard, are you still there? Hello? Okay, I don't think Gerard can hear us. He's partying pretty hard in New York. So, Emily, why don't we switch over to you? So we also have Emily Tavorlias. Sorry, I just bungled that. I did it so well when we were off the air, and then we get on the air.
True. It's true.
And it happened.
Not a big deal.
Okay, so they're just passing me a note saying, wondering if we want to interview everyone at once, but I think we should stick with the schedule here. So, Emily, tell us about Social Media Week in Washington. How did it go?
Great. We had about 115 events entered into the schedule. Pretty packed days, Monday through today, and we're about to wrap up with our closing party in about an hour from now. So we have a VIP happy hour scheduled from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock. As soon as I get done with you all here, I'm going to be heading straight over there to help set up, and we're looking forward to a good night. We've got at least 600 people signed up for over the course of the evening. More to come probably. But yeah, it's been lovely. Lots of energy. We had a really great hub, the Powerhouse in Georgetown. Beautiful, beautiful venue. Lots of light, lots of great space. It's just been a fantastic week.
Very cool. Now, I've never actually partied in Washington, so when you throw a big party in Washington, is it kind of a party, or is it more subdued?
It depends what you're comparing it to. It's definitely not like Miami or New York partying, but there's a really great social scene here, and people think of Washington as really tame and political, and it's got a really serious edge under the surface. You just have to dig a little bit to find it. But over the last few years, particularly over the last 5, you've seen the tech community and the entrepreneurship community really bubble to the surface, and I think people are starting to take notice. So come party in DC soon.
I think I will with an intro like that. Yeah, because when I think I'm really sorry. When I think Washington, I think that it's an amendment to be an amendment to be. That whole, anyhow, we'll leave that alone. So
yeah,
so how
starting to become a smaller part of DC. It's
yes.
It's where the work happens, but a lot more people are staying and playing in Washington.
Cool. So so how did the week go?
It went great. We had some really interesting events. I think one of the things that makes Washington really unique when it comes to social media is the topics that people end up focusing on. And as a more political town, the city tends to focus and have these lines of politics or international relations, international development embedded in any topic of conversation, and that applies to Social Media Week as well. So throughout Social Media Week, you've seen things like blogger happy hour or political blogger happy hours, focuses on security online, the definition of privacy, different ways that legal entities are having to start to deal with Social Media Week and take that into account from a legal perspective. Really interesting and diverse stuff, ranging from the more traditional how you tap into audiences using Social Media Week to the more I'd say DC oriented events like a political blogger happy hour or focuses on foreign policy and social media as well.
Very cool. I want to ask you, what do you, I know that with all the tech focus and all that's happening in Washington, you guys are probably pretty much up to speed on all the social media stuff in general. But in the last year, what would you say the biggest change that social media has brought to your community?
In DC specifically?
Yeah.
I think the government is learning how to use social media quickly. They've caught on. They've started employing best practices, and you're really seeing the government start to not only dabble in social media, but kind of lead the charge in different approaches to engagement online and reaching new communities. We've really seen that through the Obama administration. Just about a week ago, on the 13th, we had the State of the Union address, and there was a really large push from the Office of Social Engagement in the White House to get people engaged on the White House website and actually watch the State of the Union address online. And the address was actually supplemented in real time by like graphs and charts and infographics. It was really great, and I think exciting to see finally hit Washington.
That's awesome. I love infographics. My wife always laughs at me. I call them stats porn. It's always good entertainment.
Yeah.
So I want to also ask you, what do you think the future of social media in Washington D.C. looks like?
It's a great question. I think people would be surprised how much Washington is going to become an epicenter of technology and innovation in the next few years. The nature of the city is one that's starting to attract more and more attention worldwide, just because of the amount of political power that's concentrated here. And I think because of that, it's a natural place for conversations to happen and for new forms of communication and engagement to start taking place. So I would keep an eye on the city. You know, the combination of politics, do-gooders in the city, and tech and startups, it's going to be a great combination.
That's fantastic. I can imagine there's a real epicenter of a lot of activity. We see that here in central Canada as well, because of the government center and the financial centers are all quite close by, and there's a lot of critical mass that kind of occurs. Even though social media is borderless and countryless, it's getting the face-to-face time with change makers in that community that's important.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Totally see why that's happening.
What we're seeing a lot here in Washington is because a lot of international funders and international agencies are based out of the DC area. You're seeing conversations like this, like Google Hangouts, starting to take place where these organizations are reaching out to nodes in different parts of the world and bringing the world together to talk about how to solve problems, how to overcome various types of challenges. One organization I've seen do that really well is Ashoka, which is an organization that works with social entrepreneurs around the world, and they do a fantastic job of curating conversation and connecting people in the social entrepreneurship space. That's
awesome. Great. Thank you so much, Emily. I know you might have to deke off in a bit to go to your party, so thank you for coming if we don't get to say goodbye to you before you take off. But I am just going to switch over now to Gerard. Gerard, are you there?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm like sort of panicked because I don't have an Apple charger with me right now. I'm in a hotel and I'm at 7%, so hopefully I'm going to be able to get through this.
Okay, great. Well, let's motor through this. We'll get through it as quick as we can.
Okay.
So, Gerard, tell me, how was Social Media Week in Miami?
It was actually really. I know that's sort of the standard. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine, Gerard. Everything's good.
Okay. It was actually really fantastic. We had a great showing of people. The interest in Social Media Week from last year has definitely increased exponentially. We were so happy that Morgan's Hotel Group offered us the host venue of the Mondrian South Beach, so we had incredible views, and people were really eager to participate and engage in the dialogue. So for us, I'd have to say, all in all, things were very successful.
That's awesome. What do you think the biggest change that social media has brought to Miami?
Well, I mean, we have a reputation for being a really sort of I don't know, glitzy city. I don't know if we've ever garnered a reputation for being, you know, a reputation in depth and culture, and that's changing dramatically with Art Basel and now Social Media Week. I think is causing people or catalyzing conversations that are more about how do we attract tech, how do we attract startup, how do we embed that within our culture. And I think that Social Media Week is such an important and imperative component to continue in that process.
Very cool. Was there anything really funny that happened during Social Media Week that stands out in your mind?
Well, yeah, we had Rico Love, who's actually a very, very famous producer, music producer. But he's real. He's 100% authentic. And on his panel was DJ Effect, and we had them live streaming, and they use very real language. And so sometimes to our shock, it was a bit uncomfortable for, it was a bit of a squirming moment, and I don't want to repeat what they said, but really, social media is supposed to reflect an authentic experience, and they certainly gave us that, but I didn't have that I didn't sort of envision that that's what it was going to be, but it made for some funny moments, and everybody in the audience was there. They are probably the antithesis of politically correct, so there were some pretty funny moments as a result of that. I didn't get any negative tweets to the Social Media Week handle, and so I'm happy about that.
Yeah, it's funny because I do a lot of speaking engagements myself, and I'm not very politically correct. And the organizers of this event, I don't think have actually ever seen me speak, so I've been very careful to kind of keep it, so I don't offend anyone. But they're giving me the thumbs up and thanking me for that. So
yeah, G-rated.
Yeah. So what do you think the future of Social Media Week looks like in what do you think the future of social media looks like in Miami? What's it going to look like going forward, a year or 2 years out?
I think the future is incredibly bright for Social Media Week in Miami for a myriad of reasons, not the least of which is that we have a community that is fully supportive of creating a foundation that we can build out off of year after year after year. And we don't begin the conversation from anew. We begin the conversation from all of the learnings that we've had in the previous year. And I think that because the community has been so amenable and so receptive, we even had the city of Miami Beach, all of the government officials that have partnered with Social Media Week to ensure that we have a robust showing and that we focus a lot of visibility on Social Media Week itself, so that Miami can start becoming a part of the conversation, literally and figuratively. And so I think with the support of the continued support of the city and the continued support of our people, it will be even more successful. And I think I have a personal sort of responsibility to Miami. I feel passionately about the city. It's not always easy. Change is difficult. And people are not always willing to change as quickly as they should, or realize the tremendous benefit that awaits them when they do. But I feel that it's imperative for the city's growth and the city's forward movement that Social Media Week continue to play an important role.
Fantastic. One last thing I wanted to touch on. So when we heard from Gregory in Paris, he talked a lot about small businesses and how they were trying to loop like the local corner stores and the local grocer, get them on social media. Emily talked a lot about grassroots organizations working in conjunction with government that we're all getting on board. So was there any one particular group or community that sort of bubbled up out of this in Miami, or was it similar groups?
No, I mean, for us, it was most definitely food. It was most definitely restaurants, chefs. I think that it's sort of a compulsory part of the process now that you not only should be able to cook, I guess, in Miami, but you also have to tweet, and you have to be a part of the community, and you have to engage with people and educate them about why food is so important and why your restaurant is great. But I didn't realize, it was only because of Social Media Week that it was highlighted to me that we have we have a significant foodie community, and maybe it's because Social Media Week happens in such close conjunction with South Beach Food and Wine, and then so you have so many chefs in town. It's a world famous festival where all of the most celebrated chefs and restaurants and Food Network, everyone from around the world can converge upon Miami for that. So I think now that I'm speaking about it out loud, that's probably the causation for that.
Damn it, now my mouth is watering. Thanks for that.
I hope I used enough descriptive language. And next time that you're in Miami, you'll have to let me know so I can take you and your wife out to dinner.
Absolutely, absolutely. Actually, it's funny. We're going to move on to the next speaker in a sec, but I want to tell you one quick story. Is speaking of social media, there is a pho restaurant. I think it's called Pho 99 or something like this in Los Angeles. They do the best tweets. I've never actually been to the restaurant. I just follow them because they're every day it's some pun on the word pho, trying to get people in the door, and it's brilliant. So some restaurants,
it's fun. I love pho. Pho is it's like if you ever have a cold, pho is the thing that you should get because it makes you feel so much better immediately. But I think all brands, large or small, have to sort of transform themselves into entertainment conduits. And the more gifted the copy, the more engaging the content, the more successful the brand. So that makes total sense to me.
Awesome. Thank you, Gerard. And I know your battery's about to die and you got to deke off to a party. So if I don't get a chance to say goodbye to you before you go, it was lovely talking to you.
Thank you so much. And I'm sorry that I'm in this hotel lobby with all this madness, but I definitely am so thankful for you guys inviting me to participate. And thanks for supporting Social Media Week.
It's all good. Thanks, Gerard.
Thank you.
All right. Let's move on to Gianfranco in Milan. Gianfranco, can you hear me all right?
Yes, I can. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm quite tired, I must say. It was an intense week, an intense last month, pre-social media week, so yes, I think I'm going to sleep the whole Saturday.
And it's midnight there right now, right?
Exactly.
Oh,
but it's cool. It's cool.
Well, I appreciate you coming out. So listen, tell me, a high level, how was social media week in Milan?
Well, I think it was amazing. And one of the interesting things about social media week is that I cannot hide, I cannot lie, right? So if I say it's amazing and you then go and check the tweets and stuff and they say the opposite, my mask will fall quite fast. So I think we had a lot of fun. I think people enjoyed it a lot. We had so much activity via, people physically in the different venues, but also via the streaming, that it was very, very energizing to see all the support, even though we got very little sleep during the whole week.
That's great. Well, that's dedication, boy. So was there anything really funny that stands out in your mind that happened during social media week? I love these kind of stories.
Actually, there were several things with this one that comes to mind. So yesterday on Thursday, we made we had an activity which was the Nokia social hunt. So it was sort of a scavenger hunt organized with Nokia and some of our partners. And one of the tests, that the teams had to do in order to, have a chance to earn, the top prize and get more, smartphones and stuff, was to convince at least 10 people on the street to make a flash mob. So we are in the center of Milan. I don't know if you've ever been here, but we have the huge dome. It's the cathedral, which it took 400 years to be constructed. It's sort of, from the 1300s. And it's always full of tourists, Japanese, Chinese, Korean, Arabs, Russians, from all over the world. So we had these videos, of the teams participating in the scavenger hunt, convincing people on the street and inside the the Milan gallery to dance and even to perform the Nokia tune, a cappella. So it was quite funny to have the videos and all the passion that the teams put in order to to earn this competition.
You guys didn't do the Harlem Shake, did you?
We didn't. They did a sort of Gangnam Style thing with some people from Asia that were, coming through, and they were totally on it. But no Harlem.
That's good, because Harlem Shake burnt out quite quickly, so that would look dated very quickly. Gangnam Style, I think, has a bit more timelessness to it.
Exactly, and it came from Korea, so it was totally connected.
Excellent. I also wanted to ask you, what do you think the biggest change that social media has brought to Milan in the last year would be?
Well, if you take, for example, Social Media Week took place in Milan in 2009, 2010, And since then, it didn't take place here. It took place in other cities in Italy, but not in Milan. And I think the biggest difference is that, 3 years ago, it was something for a niche of people, for bloggers or tech people and geeks. And now more than 1/3 of the Italian population is on Facebook. 4 million Italians are on Twitter. So it's no longer, just a niche for geeks. It's something that, people from every age is using. So the biggest transformation is that social media became just another mass media, just something that anyone might check. So in fact, we created a series of events that were approaching topics like, sports, health, photography, comics, doing comics and stuff. Plus, of course, advertising and marketing and communications and another more, social media centric activities. And I think part of the success of the event here was that we were touching, even food, topics which people love, are passionate about, where technology is transparent, but social media is the enabler for people to connect and do more inside these different topics.
Now, I understand that you're a bit of an expert in social media, so you must sort of see what goes on in other countries. So how would you compare what's going on in your country with the social media experience that people are having in other countries? Is there a difference? Is there something unique about the way it's done in your country?
Well, there is difference. I work in several different countries, and the culture around social media is different. For example, in what I see in Japan and in the US is very different from the Italian experience, especially for brands. So, brands are trying to catch up, but are having a harder time than other places. For example, this week, actually tomorrow, we're having general elections, political elections. And all candidates have jumped on Twitter and Facebook and Vine, and Google Hangout and stuff. But you still can see that they don't really live social media. In the US, you can see the Obama campaign, and in other countries too, how they really embrace social media as not just a powerful tool, but something essential for their campaigns. Here, it's still seen as we have TV, we have newspapers, and then social media is sort of out there, and it's a cool tool you should have. But you can see that most of the candidates don't really believe in it as a driving force, which I think it is.
What I'd be curious to ask you, in North America here, one of the things that we've seen with social media is a graying of the social media. So we're getting baby boomers now, 55 plus, coming onto social media platforms. And what's actually been happening is it's been driving the young people off certain platforms. So in North America, for example, Facebook's membership numbers have held pretty steady with a slight upward curve in growth, but it's a massive influx of older folks and a massive outflow of younger folks to other platforms. Have you seen anything similar in Italy?
Well, let me say first something. For a lot of teens, around 12, 15, email is for old people, right? So they're not using email, and they're using messaging apps like WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger and stuff for messaging. But email is for old people. So you can see some differences. Currently, Facebook has if you see the growth of Facebook in Italy, as I said, more than 1/3 of the Italian population is there. So there's been a massive influx. But if you see the groups that have been growing the most are the older ones. First, because maybe people like myself started using Facebook something around 5 years ago, but we're getting older. So we are moving towards the other age. Sorry, I'm quite tired. To the other edge of the range, of the age range. But also, what you see is that grandmothers and moms and stuff are getting online. So this is of course a turnoff for a lot of people, because it used to be sort of not a secret place, but the moment your mother is following you on Twitter, you can no longer share certain stuff. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I've been very grateful that my mother is not very tech savvy. She's not on Facebook, because I would get a call probably every other day. Why did you post that? It makes you look dumb. Something like that. So
well, mine is on Facebook, and it's a good thing, because sometimes as I'm traveling, I don't have time to call her and stuff, so she follows me there. though sometimes she's liking the wrong things on my profile. What would you like that, Mom? And recently she joined Twitter because the Pope was on Twitter. And well, you don't have to register, and 5 seconds later, I was getting your mother wants to, is following you on Twitter, which was, oh boy, I need to jump to another social network now.
That's funny. That's funny. Now, maybe you might be in a similar age. You look like you're around the same age as me. How old are you, Jean-Francois?
I'm 35.
Oh, so you're exact same age as me. So I know for guys your and my age, it's a little bit weird because we're almost kind of halfway in between those older generations and the, for me and you, we didn't grow up with this technology. We learned it as it emerged. So yes, it's familiar to us, but I don't know about you, but for me, it's one of many tools of ways that I engage with people. I still like to see people face to face quite often. I still pick up the phone and call people, and I don't always get. I've got some of my colleagues that are younger who will try to direct message me through Twitter like it's email, and I just don't check my Twitter that often. So I'll say, hey, I'm running 5 minutes late. Do you want me to bring you a coffee? And I get that message 3 days later. Do you find that you sort of fall into that weird valley?
I see certain things, but here I have a different use of Twitter. For example, I don't follow too many people on Twitter. Usually it's less, around 300 max. But as I get so many emails, sometimes, I don't know, I might get 500 emails per day. It's becoming more and more difficult to use email as a reliable tool. Actually, email is broken. People send you emails and they're expecting that you check the email and answer it, or that at least you read it, right? And unless your job is reading and answering to emails, your job description, it's becoming more and more difficult. So I'm using, Twitter sometimes for some more direct communications. But what I do see is, first, so when we went to school, we were taught how to write a letter, right? And how you should set up, information in a letter and stuff. And nobody taught us to use the internet, so we sort of followed our through what was our education, sort of flowed into it. I see a lot of abuse of language and communication, and simplification and stuff, which I love paper. For example, I see there's a bookshelf, to your side. I love paper, and I think it's very important to learn to communicate in certain ways, and then understand every medium to adapt to those. But I see that now a lot of people are forgetting paper, are skipping paper altogether, are not writing long letters on paper or on email or whatever. So I see sort of a void in how to communicate and how to use each medium. Twitter is different from email, it's different from fax, if you're still using those and stuff. So I think it would be useful to learn how to use these different tools, that you no longer don't need to greet everyone in an email if it's the 100th email you send to that person and stuff, and become a bit more effective. So yes, I see a lot of difference, between different age ranges.
Gotcha. So one other question that I had for you, in Italy, where do you see the future of social media in Italy going? What do you see 1 year, 2 years from now?
So and we actually had a session on this. The range of the age range is growing the most is the over 60s. Italy is a country that's getting older. People are not having kids. So in fact, younger people are rare, or they're coming from immigrants that are becoming the new Italians. But Italy is aging very, very fast. So I think the penetration of social media in that more mature generation is going to be very, very important. First, because Italy is, area-wise is a small country, but it has a lot of mountains and divisions and stuff, and it's quite long. So there's an accessibility issue. The sons might go to a city which is on the opposite side of the country and stuff, and the penetration of social media, especially to connect the mature generations with the younger ones, is very important. And there is a strong trend there. One of our partners, Telecom Italia, is doing courses to train older people to use these tools. And I think that's one of the future applications of social media. A connector for society across generations.
Yeah, it's interesting because I was having a conversation with somebody just recently about the ubiquity of different operating systems, right? So we were saying, well, you pick up, because my parents got their first smartphones recently. They're in their 60s, and they went with an iPhone, right? And I'm an Android guy myself, so I kind of said, well, I don't really blame them, because I think a lot of people get intimidated by Android because there's so many things you can do with it that it for people in their 60s, it's like, oh, that's too much. But we were both talking about it and kind of saying, Google has been putting a lot of work into their user interfaces and making them simpler and making them more intuitive. And I know that Microsoft has been doing the same. So it seems like all these operating systems are moving towards a more simple, intuitive user interface. So do you see that as making it easier for folks in the older generations in Italy to pick up these technologies and use them?
Well, I think that there's still very high barriers because there are a lot of communication apps which are not compatible across platforms. So I think it's getting easier. Several tablets and smartphones are quite straightforward, but still you need a relative or someone with a technology background to help you, even setting them up. It's not that you just get it like a TV, or a toaster that you plug it in and it works. And actually, I wish that with all the different advantages that from BlackBerry operating system, to Windows Phone, to Android, to iOS, that they become more like a TV. The brains might be different, but why should you be an expert in it? You should just connect whatever your smartphone is and be able to talk with the other ones. And I think this is one of the biggest challenges. And you can see it happening in a way because it's been a curve. Since the first advanced smartphone came out 6 years ago until now, there's been a very, very fast growth. But now it's becoming a bit flatter, right? Regarding innovation, we don't care anymore about pixels or the size of the screen starts to become a bit irrelevant. So I really wish that there's going to be sort of a convergence, and whatever the system you're using becomes more sort of transparent. And it's about how it enables people to just take it out of the box and start speaking with their sons or their grandparents, and without so much focus on the tech aspect of it.
Excellent. Well, you know what? To me, that sounds really good. I think anytime you get people talking more together through social media and through technology is a good thing.
Yep, absolutely.
So thank you so much, Gianfranco. We really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us.
Thanks for inviting me, and have a cool evening there in Vancouver.
Thank you, and I hope you get some sleep.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Now, next we are joined by Haruna, who is speaking with us from Tokyo. Now, we don't have a video feed for Haruna, so we'll just be hearing her on the phone. Haruna, are you there? Okay, we're not getting a feed from Haruna just yet. So we'll just pause for a couple more minutes here. Okay. Hello, Haruna. This is Aaron Cruikshank from Vancouver, Canada. How are you doing today? Excellent. So I know that it's very early in the morning in Tokyo, and I really appreciate you joining us. Well, how did Social Media Week in Tokyo go? Wow, that's incredible. So what was there any big and amazing things that happened with Social Media Week that really stood out? That sounds amazing. It's great that you had such prestigious guests. So I want to ask you one last question. What do you think the future of social media in Tokyo looks like? Great, great. Thank you so much. So I think that is all the questions we have for you, Haruna. Thank you so much for joining us. You're very welcome. Nice talking to you. Okay, have a good sleep. All right. Bye-bye. Okay, folks. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And yeah. So again, thank you so much for joining us. We had lots of good speakers, and I want to pass things over to Lisa Lane from LAT, who is going to be wrapping up the discussion today. So thank you so much for being a great audience, and thank you for the speakers for joining us. So Lisa.
Thank you very much, Aaron. That was great, and thank you everybody for joining us. Unfortunately, we had some technical difficulties with Haruna, but Haruna, thank you very much as well for giving us your feedback on what happened in Tokyo this week, and thank you to everybody. That was a great information, and hopefully a lot of really stimulating ideas for all of us who are passionate about social media. Thanks a lot, everybody, and all the best. Bye-bye.